In this video, I'm going to tell you about the 5 new mid-powered e-mountain bikes entering the USA in 2024. I'm going to tell you the nitty-gritty details, pros and cons, and hopefully help you decide which bike is right for you. What's up everyone? FC here from E-MTB Review and mtbr.com. I know quite a bit about e-bikes and mid-powered bikes. What is a mid-powered bike? It is a lighter e-mountain bike. Instead of 50 plus pounds, they go from 35 to 45 pounds. And how do they achieve that? They achieve that with a smaller motor, less torque and less watts, usually 30 to 60 newton meters of torque, and about 200 to 500 watts of power. So the first bike I am going to tell you about is the Canyon Neuron Onfly CF7 entering the US about now. And I don't have a lot of these bikes yet, but I've ridden them a little bit at Sea Otter, and most of them are coming here to the E-MTB Review test labs where I'm going to do all these testing and power meter testing and maybe huck to flat testing. So it's going to be exciting, but I know all about them. So the Neuron Onfly, 2 things make it really special. One is it comes in at $5,499. $5,500 for a mid-powered e-bike is pretty special. And the second thing is it comes with the brand new, to be released, Bosch SX motor. They've seen it in Europe, but we haven't really seen it in the States. The Bosch SX motor is from that hallowed company, Bosch, version 4 on their full powered, and this is their first mid-powered motor. And this one claims 55 newton meters of torque. It is smaller, but it claims 600 watts of power. And the other thing it does is it delivers modular batteries, 400 watts of internal battery, and 250 watt extenders. So the other details on it is a 29er, a full 29er with 140 and 140 millimeters of front rear travel. The angles are 64.5, 77.5 degrees on the seat angle, 64.5 on the head angle. So, and the reach is very nice, 460 millimeters for a medium, and the chain stays about 450 millimeters for the medium. In this configuration, the weight is about 45 pounds, 44.7 pounds is what they say. And the obvious pros are, hey, it's a Canyon, German engineering, and the price is insane. $54.99 for a CF7 is pretty darn good. And it has the latest Bosch motor with modular batteries. There's a couple downsides to the Canyon already. The first one I see is the Bosch SX motor, as highly touted as it is, 600 watts is the most impressive stat, right? 55 newton meters. But when I rode it, it wasn't that strong. It felt like a 400 watt motor. Up on the hills. Maybe on a gravel bike it'll feel powerful because you can spin the cranks. The problem is watts is equal to torque times RPM. And since it only has 55 newton meters of torque, the RPM you have to deliver, meaning how fast you do the pedals, is 110. 55 times 110 is about 600 watts. So completely impractical for steep climbs. So the power you're gonna get, you're not gonna keep up with any of your full powered buddies on a steeper climb or many difficult mountain biking situations. So caveat right there. The second downside of this bike is in Europe there's 4 versions of this bike, coupled with GX transmission, and in the US, and not that expensive, about 7,500 euros to US dollar. But in the US, they only chose to import one model, the CF7. So they should have at least gone for 2. At least the user has an option. So a little bit unfortunate. Okay, the next bike I'm going to tell you about is super exciting. It is the version 2 of one of the most successful mid-powered bikes around. It is the Orbea Rise version 2. And what it brings to the table is it used to have 60 newton meters of torque. Now it goes 85 newton meters of torque. This motor is basically the Shimano EP801 and custom tuned just for Orbea by the Orbea people. And what they've achieved, similar to the Rise version 1, is a motor that is very responsive when it needs to be, and it preserves itself when and it allows you to do a lot of work. And some people discounted this as, hey, that's just a restricted full-powered motor, heavy and whatnot. But if you see the results on the first Orbea Rise, you could achieve 40-pound bikes, and this bike had good range, had a good extender, and it was keeping up with a lot of folks, especially for the fit rider. And this one promises to be even more. Speaking of battery, this is the true highlight of the Orbea Rise version 2. Orbea understands that to save weight, it's not in the frame, the wheels, or the motor, it's in the battery. Most of the weight of an e-bike is the battery. So if you can shrink that battery, make it lighter, make it more modular, then they do have a 420 battery or a 630 watt-hour battery. So very impressive work right here. You could order the bike with what you want, and it's gonna come with an extender. It used to be like 250, now it's 210. So they've optimized a little bit. The other thing that makes this bike special is it comes in two configurations: the classic Orbea Rise 140, 150 millimeters of travel, or the rad version 150, 160. And let me tell you, half my friends, 60% of my friends who bought this bike, and I know at least 20 people who bought this bike, really put a 160 fork on it. They made it a little more rad. And so Orbea said, okay, we understand. We'll design it that way. We'll put a coil shock. We'll put a Fox 36. We'll make it so you don't have to buy and sell, and upgrade your bike. So you can have your way with it. They're claiming the trail version, the light version, is around 36 pounds. And the rad version is about 40 pounds. And the prices for the carbon fiber are $8,699 and $12,999. So what is the weakness of the Orbea Rise version 2? As I see it right. The big one is that they're expensive. Only carbon fiber is released for now. I'm fairly sure that the aluminum versions are going to come out, and that's what me and all my friends bought. 90% bought the aluminum versions, because on an e-bike, really, the carbon versus aluminum doesn't really matter that much. The other weakness of Orbea is it's based on the Shimano EP801. So it's a heavier motor, heavier than the rest that you'll see in the competition. They could have saved some weight there, and there's a little bit of rattle still. It's not completely quiet. It's not as loud as before, but it's not completely quiet. And the other thing is it doesn't have the displays that we're used to. It's so cool to have the specialized Mastermind TCU integrated, or the Trek Fuel EXE that's right on the top, very stealthy, but the data is there if you want it. For some reason, Orbea believes that less is more, but really, this is an e-bike. You need the data. They'll allow you to put a Garmin GPS and connect it that way, but in my experience, most people will stick with what the bike comes, and so they won't have the data, the 1 to 100% increments of battery level, for example. Okay, the next bike I'd love to tell you about, I actually got to ride quite a bit, is the Norco VLT with the Bosch SX motor. This comes in different price points, C1, C2, C3, and the cheapest one is $5,999. Bosch SX motor. This bike has 130, 140 millimeters of travel, and it comes with mullet wheel size, 29 in front, 27 on the rear, and the head and seat angle are classic, not 71, 73 like when I grew up, but 65 on the head, 77.5 on the rear. So really nice. The chain stays are size specific, 34, 32 for this one. Awesome. That's advantage of mullet. And the reach is 452 millimeters for a size 2. And you're not pigeonholed. You could be as a medium or large. You could do size 2, size 3. So similar to Specialized. The most expensive model is 11,400, sub 40 pounds, 39.99. And this one, the cheapest one is 5,999. Pros and cons. I think everything I said is a pro. It's a great early package, mullet with ideal geometry. A con would be the travel, 130 on the rear and 140 in the front. And this is similar to what Pivot did with their Shuttle SL, 130, 150, I believe. And I think it's okay, because you think, oh, light bike, might as well make it more trail. and not all mountain. But really, a lot of people want the travel. They just don't want the weight. And it's fair to say, if you had a 150, 160, sub 45-pound bike, it is really a delight. That's what I would buy. And the other weakness I would say is the mentioned the Boss SX wattage again. They claim 600 watts, and I think a lot of people are gonna buy it because it's 600 watts. That's more than my Specialized or my Shimano powered EP8. But really, it's not gonna deliver anywhere near to that unless you're gonna spin 110 RPMs with your legs going up a steep hill. All right, the fourth bike I would like to talk about is the Ari Nebo, formerly known as Pizzari, and I've been riding this bike for the last 3-4 months. And this one is interesting. It has 140, 150 millimeters of travel on nice geometry, 65 head and 77.5 on the rear. And you can buy it as a 29er or as a mullet, but with their consumer direct model, you can spec it any way you want. So really an interesting bike. It's their second coming, I think, where they've really now making some of the best. Before they had value consumer direct, but now these are some of the best e-bikes, e-mountain bikes available. And what they put in this bike is the Ora Rise 60 with 60 Newton meters of torque and about 400 watts of power. The battery is 430 watt hours, and this seems to be a very efficient battery. And 2 years ago, when this motor came out, it felt a little weak. It felt like it was 50 Newton meters and it was only 60, when you push the 10-second turbo mode, the momentary. But now I'm observing in my testing, it's getting really strong. Pretty much matching up to the original Orbea Rise, which was a strong motor. The reach is 455. This is a rad bike, and it looks very stealth. So attractive, and the price points are really good. 5,999 for the lowest end, and they're all carbon fiber, and they have a 7,999 for the top end model. And you could put the brakes you want or the carbon wheels that you want. So a lot of configuration on the bikes that they're offering. On the weaknesses front, I would say number one is they're in short supply. As soon as I released it, they were sold out right away. The other weakness is the Ora Rise 60 2 years ago said they were going to have an extender. So all these bikes have an extender port if they engineered it right, so ready for a water ball extender. Well, guess what? I went to the it's 2 years late, and I went to the Ora guys, and they said, where's the extender? And they said, nah, maybe December. But really, we're looking 2025 now. And so very frustrating. They're just kicking the can. They seem to have no definitive answers, no accountability for when this extender is going to come out. And if you are relying on this extender, it becomes a showstopper. Luckily, the range on this motor is amazing. I'm able to look like 5,000, 5,500 feet with just by putting in a lot of effort and relying on this motor. It's a torquey and efficient motor. And on the weaknesses side, the displays, the controls are not first rate, but it is quite a good offering. Okay, the fifth bike that just got released is the Specialized Kenevo SL2. So the Kenevo is the raddest e-bike, mid-powered e-bike ever made. 170 millimeters of travel, and they have it down to like 38, 39 pounds. But just like the Levo SL, the motor before, the shared motor was very weak. 35 Newton meters, 250 watts of power. The batteries were small too. 320 watt hour battery and a 160 watt extender, but the extender was readily available. And now what they've done is they've updated it, and now we have, similar to the Levo SL motor, they put that version 2 motor, same form factor, but it has a lot more torque. Instead of 35 Newton meters of torque, it now has 50 Newton meters of torque, and it's measurable. I've been able to detect that on the Levo SL, and you can really feel it. It comes at the expense of a little more battery usage, so I wish they made the battery bigger, with a stronger motor, but it's a little more efficient, so that's its saving grace. So this bike is a full 29er, The geometry is 63.5 on the head, 76 on the rear, 460 reach, 447 stays, and it tops out at $14,000, 42 pounds for that bad boy right there. So really a fun and engaging bike. In all the details are polished. On the weaknesses side, this new SL motor at 50 Newton meters is going to come out as one of the weaker ones compared to the competition. And it's the other competition is they're just increasing, and the battery size is just so small. 320 and 160 is just not there. The other side of it is it's a full 29er. This would have been so much more fun as a mullet because now you have the weight and you have 29er wheels and all that travel. So it's hard to fit everything in this package. But it is available, and hopefully the aluminum version will be out soon with this new motor, and everything will be hunky-dory. Okay, since you hung on till the end, I'm going to tell you about a bike I saw at Sea Otter. It's the Polygon Siskiu TLER. And this one also has the Bosch SX motor, everything I mentioned. What's cool about this one is 150 millimeters of rear travel, 160, right? On a brand new suspension, really slick multi-link action going on here, full carbon fiber. And when you buy it, it's gonna come with an extender. So that 250 watt extender that's gonna be sold out, hard to get, it's gonna come with it. And Polygon, if you've seen their prices, it's gonna be like Canyon or Fazari, meaning very aggressive. You're not gonna see like $11,000 bikes or something in the stratosphere. It's gonna be very reasonable. So there you go, my friends. Said a mouthful. It's an exciting day. I'm sure a lot more mid-powered e-mountain bikes are going to be released in the US, and in Europe there's a lot more brands over there, a lot of small brands, but this one is exciting, and we will test everything we can get our hands on. Thanks a ton.